It was a foggy moonlit night on the island of Sodor. Work still goes on at night, and all the engines were busy taking the night goods and passengers around the island. All except for Percy, who had broken down from a valve which had come loose. His crew kept warm in the cab with scarves around their necks, clutching hot cocoa in their flasks. Thomas had been sent to rescue Percy. Percy was pleased to see his friend arrive. "I'm glad you've come to help me," said Percy. "I thought I would have been stuck here all night." "What are friends for?" smiled Thomas. "And why would a really useful engine like yourself be stuck here all night, Come on, we've got a job to do with delivering the post, remember?" "Oh yeah," said Percy. Thomas buffered up to Percy, and they soon headed on their way to the repair yard. The fog was thick, and Thomas had to hurry. Suddenly, Percy noticed something. "Look, Thomas," he peeped. "There are bright lights in the sky. It must be a spaceship." "A spaceship?" asked Thomas as he tried to see. "Are you sure? Because I can't see anything." "As sure as I'm a little green engine called Percy," beamed Percy. Soon Thomas brought Percy to the repair yard. "Broken down, little Percy," teased Gordon. "What a shame. Big engines like me never break down, you see." "Well, what about the safety valve incident, said Thomas. "You broke down then and couldn't board the express, remember?" "Ha!" Gordon snorted, remembering. "But I saw a spaceship," Percy said. "It had bright lights floating in the sky." "Ha!" grunted Gordon once more. "What nonsense! There's no such thing as spaceships. It's all make-believe and nonsense. Absolute belly piffle. I remember you did something similar when you were talking about that dragon." Rubbish. Before Thomas could say anything more, the Fat Controller arrived. "Thomas," he called, "since Percy's going to need repairs, you will have to manage the pulse train alone for a while. Both Oliver and Edward are both busy with the work on their respective branch lines." "What about Rosie, sir?" asked Thomas. "Unfortunately, Rosie has gone to the mainland," the Fat Controller replied, "and no other engine is available, I'm afraid." "I understand, sir," sighed Thomas. "That's a good engine," said the Fat Controller. "Now get going, the post is already late as it is." "Be sure to look out for my spaceship," said Percy. "If it even exists," snorted Gordon once more. "I'll prove you wrong, Gordon," said Thomas. "Then we'll see who's Mr. Make-Believe and Nonsense." And he puffed away to start his deliveries. But no matter which way Thomas went with his deliveries, from the top of Gordon's Hill to the coastal route, what appeared to look like a spaceship were either workmen's lights or the flickering lamp of the lighthouse. The next morning, Thomas arrived at the airport to collect some passengers. Then, he heard an unfamiliar sound coming from the sky. In the distance, a jet plane was coming into land. Thomas had never seen this plane before, but he thought the landing was a wonderful sight. Thomas rolled up to the hangar just as the plane came in. "Hello," said Thomas. "Who are you?" "I'm Jeremy," replied the plane. "Who might you be, "I'm Thomas. What a splendid landing you made. And what great arms you've got too, just like Harold the helicopter." "They're nice arms," replied Jeremy. "They help me to glide through the sky, and I don't need to hover about like a helicopter. Oh no. Don't you wish you could glide and go anywhere you please?" "Certainly not," said Thomas sternly. "I like my rails, thank you." "I think railways are slow," boasted Jeremy. You can't glide through the sky or go anywhere you want. Plus, you have to stop for those belly obstructions on the line and for signals like road vehicles do with traffic lights. Oh dear. While from the air, you see, you don't have to worry about such bother. Plus, you can see everything on the island all at once. It's a lovely sight. Ta-ta. Now, Thomas didn't seem so fond of Jeremy. Come on, Thomas, called his driver. The passengers are waiting. Rails are better than gliding through the air any day, puffed Thomas to himself. He was still fuming as he bucketed along the rails. But then, bother, he grumbled. It's a signal at danger. As Thomas stopped, he heard Jeremy taking off. Then suddenly, Jeremy flew right beneath them. Stupid thing, shouted Thomas's driver. Could it have been flying any lower? Jet planes don't have to stop for signals, groaned Thomas as the signal dropped. As Thomas puffed past the windmill, he could still see Jeremy gliding through the sky. Show off, puffed Thomas. But he suddenly stopped for a cow on the line. Plus, jet planes don't have to stop for cows either, Thomas added gloomily. But that night, while still delivering the mail for a second night, Thomas saw something that appeared to have the same resemblance of Percy's spaceship. But unlike the lights from the previous night, these lights were moving and were lowering down to land. That must be Percy's spaceship, he cried. I've done it! I've proven Gordon wrong! Thomas hurried along the track until he came by the airport. He was most disappointed to see Jeremy coming into land. Oh, he sighed in disbelief. It's only Jeremy. Oh, hello there, Thomas, said Jeremy. You seem lost. I hope you're all right. I am now, Thomas sighed, but deep down he was disappointed that he hadn't proven Gordon wrong. Come on, Thomas, said his driver. Let's finish our delivery and then take these vans back to the goods yard. It was late when Thomas got back to the goods shed. He met Gordon, who had just returned from his midnight express. So, little Thomas, how many spaceships did you find tonight? He asked. Thomas told Gordon the whole truth. It wasn't a spaceship, sighed Thomas. It was only that new jet plane Jeremy. You were right, Gordon. It was all make-believe and nonsense. An absolute bally-piffle, as you said. Thomas felt silly for showing off. The next day, Thomas took some children to a summer picnic, where he met Percy. You look sad, Thomas, Percy said. What's wrong? It's that jet plane, sighed Thomas huffily. He comes here, shows off with his gliding, and then nothing goes right for me. He then told Percy about his spaceship. Percy was disappointed. Plus, jet planes don't have to stop for signals or obstructions on the line either, Thomas added. They can just glide through the sky without having to run on rails. Helicopters are just the same, Percy went on. Remember that time when I had that race with Harold? He too reckoned railways were slow, and that he could hover unlike me, but I certainly proved him wrong. Thomas agreed, remembering. But I wish I could show Jeremy that, he sighed once more. But he didn't have long to wait. That afternoon, Jeremy was flying to the mainland but along the way, dark clouds started gathering. Ooh! Groaned Jeremy. He glided round and headed back for Sodor Airport. As he came into land, Thomas arrived to collect some passengers. He saw Jeremy making an emergency landing. Jeremy rolled up to Thomas at once, but Thomas didn't want to talk to Jeremy. "Thomas, a summer storm is on the way. The summer picnic will be ruined if we don't hurry," added his driver. "Well, what are we waiting for?" asked Thomas. "Let's go!" Thomas arrived back at the picnic site just in time. "Quick!" he called out. "A summer storm is coming! Get into Annie and Clarabelle at once! Quickly!" Everyone packed up the picnic quickly, then scrambled into Annie and Clarabelle just as the lightning flashed and thunder roared. And then the rain came. "The airport is the best place to take shelter for now," Thomas said to his driver. His driver thought it was a good idea, and it wasn't long before they returned to the airport. "Please, Jeremy," Thomas called out, "can the children have their picnic in your hangar?" "Why, of course," smiled Jeremy. "I'll be glad of the company." Thomas smiled. Soon everyone was having a jolly time, particularly Jeremy, who enjoyed having such wonderful company. "You know what, Thomas," Jeremy said, "railways aren't so out of date after all. In fact, they can be just as reliable as us jet planes. But jet planes can get the first sightings of trouble just as reliable as us who run on rails," Thomas added. "Well done, both of you," smiled the Fat Controller. "You are both reliable in your own respective ways." Thomas and Jeremy both agreed and became great friends. That night at the sheds, all the engines watched as Jeremy came into land after his night's flight. "You know what, Thomas?" whispered Percy. "I think Jeremy is better than the spaceship any day, just like Harold." Thomas heartily agreed.